You probably already know this. Wolves are fierce, bloodthirsty, and dangerous, but they're also one of the most beloved animals on the planet. Cold, powerful, and fiercely loyal to their pack. You've seen them everywhere. Twilight, Little Red Riding Hood, Logan. We're absolutely obsessed with them. But here's the thing. If you were a human being living 30,000 years ago, hearing a wolf howl in the dark wasn't cinematic. It wasn't cool. It was a death knell, like a flock of crows blotting out the sky. It meant something was out there, watching you, hunting you in a coordinated pack. You were slower than it. Your sense of smell was nowhere near its level. And in the dark, you were practically blind compared to it. A wolf's bite force reaches up to 300 kilograms per square centimeter, roughly double that of a modern pit bull. And unlike most predators that hunt alone, wolves coordinate tactically as a pack with a level of precision that most primates simply can't match. And yet, out of all the animals that have ever existed on this planet, more than 8 million species, humans ended up choosing wolves as their closest companions. Not horses, not cattle, not even chimpanzees who share 98.7% of our DNA. Wolves. That makes no sense, at least not until you realize that maybe we didn't choose them at all. Through one of the most unexpected twists in evolutionary history, and we're going to dig into exactly how it happened, they chose us. Today, there are around 900 million dogs on Earth, making them the most numerically abundant large carnivore on the planet. They can detect landmines with over 90% accuracy. In some clinical trials, they've diagnosed lung cancer through breath samples with a sensitivity rate of up to 97%. They pull sleds through blizzards at -50 degrees Celsius, herd hundreds of sheep on a single whistle command, and yes, they also wear tiny birthday hats next to birthday cakes. But nobody designed them. No tribe ever sat down and decided to create a new species. Dogs emerged as an unintended consequence, a byproduct of a relationship that neither side fully understood they were entering. And according to modern archaeological and genetic evidence, that process was not started by humans. To understand how this happened, you have to picture the world during the late Ice Age, somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago. Humans lived in small groups, typically 20 to 50 people, constantly moving across vast stretches of land in search of food. Most hunts failed. A broken bone was a slow death sentence. Winter killed without warning, and at the edge of every campfire, just beyond the reach of the light, wolves were waiting, not to attack, to eat whatever was left over. That is where everything began, and from that point forward, the story gets stranger than anything anyone could make up. Here's something most people never think about. Humans are incredibly wasteful eaters. Even on the leanest days, hunter-gatherers left behind cracked bones, scraps of meat clinging to hide, discarded organs, and half-eaten carcasses. To a wolf, a human camp wasn't a threat. It was a free, reliable, and repeating source of calories. Wolves started approaching. The aggressive ones got speared. The overly fearful ones stayed back and starved. But the ones in the middle, less afraid than normal, less aggressive than dangerous, survived, then reproduced, then passed those traits on. Nobody made that decision. That was natural selection doing exactly what it does. And we're not just guessing. We've actually watched this process happen in a controlled experiment. In 1959, Soviet geneticist Dmitry Belyaev launched a study in Novosibirsk, Siberia. Each generation of silver foxes, he did one single thing, selected the calmest individuals for breeding. No training, no conditioning, just selecting for temperament, generation after generation. The results came faster than anyone expected. Within fewer than 10 generations, the foxes started wagging their tails when they saw people. Within 20 generations, they were actively seeking human contact, whining for attention, licking hands, rubbing against legs. But what truly stunned the scientists was what happened next. Their bodies changed too. Ears flopped down, snouts shortened, white patches appeared in their coats, tails curled upward. Even their reproductive cycles shifted, becoming more dog-like and less wolf-like. Nobody touched their appearance. The only selection pressure was personality, and physical form followed on its own. Scientists now call this domestication syndrome, a cluster of physical and behavioral changes that tend to appear together across different species as they become less aggressive toward humans. It's been documented in foxes, in guinea pigs, in wild boar, and tens of thousands of years ago, it almost certainly happened in wolves too. The earliest proto-dogs, still technically wolves but already beginning to shift, probably looked subtly different, ears a little softer, eyes a little rounder, snouts a little shorter. Not enough for humans to call them pets, but enough that humans didn't immediately kill them. And this almost certainly didn't happen in just one place. Mitochondrial DNA analysis from hundreds of ancient dog and wolf specimens suggests that domestication may have occurred independently across multiple regions, Europe, the Middle East, East Asia, during roughly the same broad time window. Not a single event, a global pattern unfolding quietly over thousands of years with no one alive to notice it was happening. But why did humans allow this at all? Why not just chase them off or kill them? Because wolves had something humans desperately needed. Wolves can hear ultrasonic frequencies that human ears can't detect. Their sense of smell is between 10,000 and 100,000 times more sensitive than ours, depending on conditions, sensitive enough to track prey from several kilometers away or detect a stranger approaching camp in the middle of the night before anyone inside even stirred. A wolf lingering around a campsite was essentially a living early warning system running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with no salary and no training required. Some anthropologists, including researcher Pat Shipman at Penn State, have argued that the alliance with dogs may have provided a survival advantage significant enough to help explain why Homo sapiens outlasted the Neanderthals, who appear to have had no comparable relationship with wolves. This remains a debated hypothesis, but the archaeological evidence supporting it continues to grow. And that relationship didn't stay still. It co-evolved. When humans transitioned to agriculture around 10,000 years ago and diets shifted heavily toward grain, dogs evolved right alongside them. Genetic analysis shows that modern dogs carry between 4 and 30 times more copies of the AMY2B gene, which codes for an enzyme that breaks down starch, compared to wolves. Wolves struggle to digest grain. Dogs don't. That's not a coincidence. That's two species making biological adjustments to keep living together. And on the human side, something changed too. When a person makes eye contact with a dog, not a wolf, specifically a dog, both species release oxytocin, the bonding hormone most commonly associated with the connection between parents and newborns. A 2015 study published in the journal Science measured oxytocin levels in both owners and their dogs before and after eye contact and found a positive feedback loop operating in both directions. Wolves don't do this with humans. Only dogs do. Evolution programmed dogs to activate the bonding centers of the human brain and programmed us to respond. Those famous puppy dog eyes, the small fold of skin on the inner corner of a dog's eye that creates a soft, expressive look, are also a product of this process. Wolves don't have that muscle. Dogs do. And dogs that were more expressive got better care, more food, and more offspring. Evolution, once again, running exactly as designed, except this time, humans were the selection pressure. But this story isn't just cold science. In Oberkassel, Germany, archaeologists excavated a grave dating back approximately 14,200 years. Inside were an older man, a younger woman, and a dog. Analysis of the dog's remains showed it had suffered a severe illness, most likely canine distemper during puppyhood, and had survived the acute phase over a period of several weeks. That could only have happened if someone was actively caring for it, feeding it when it couldn't feed itself, keeping it warm, waiting for it to recover. People who were fighting to survive one of the harshest environments in human history. People for whom every calorie, every hour of sleep, and every injury-free day could mean the difference between life and death, spent those precious resources nursing a sick dog back to health, and when that dog eventually died, they buried it beside them. Dogs were with us before writing existed, before the wheel, before the pyramids, before anything we typically use to mark the beginning of civilization. Cats live near humans, cattle tolerate humans, horses work with humans, but dogs joined humans in a partnership with no contract, no shared language, and no plan. Just scraps beside a fire, cautious wolves creeping closer in the dark, and evolution across tens of thousands of years, turning fear into something we now call friendship. Tonight, your dog will probably fall asleep somewhere close to you. It has no idea any of this happened, but now you do. If you found this video interesting, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. It really does help.